Hello everybody, this is Suprati here. In this video, we are going to discuss the preparation strategy for social science in NTSE stage 1. The first point regarding SST preparation is to identify what you have to study. Now this gets a bit tricky for states which follow a different book other than your CBSE NCERT books. Like my state follows a different book for SST, and please try to find out if your state does as well. There are a few states which have similar books as NCERT in their state boards, but again that's up to the respective states and it keeps on changing. They might be following the NCERT books, so you have to find it out. Now first you have identified what you have to study. You need to study it thoroughly. In my case, I had studied my school NCERT books of SST very thoroughly, and I was in the knowledge that in my state's NTSE there were a few questions from the NCERT as well, some based on GK as well, and some based on the state board books of SST as well. Now, I wasn't sure that the state board part had so many questions, so just about a month or a month and a half before the exam, I looked at the previous year question paper of the last year NTSE, and the trend was that the state board questions were increasing. The questions from the state board textbook were increasing, and almost around 25 questions were, or around 25 to 30 questions were from the state board textbooks, and it was expected that they would have given many questions from the state board textbook as well in my NTSE, and that was the case. They had given around 35 to 36, or maybe around 35 to 37 questions, yes, from the state board books, and there were a few general knowledge questions about my state, and also a few like general knowledge based questions which everyone should know. These are the points for my journey as far as SST is concerned. And also a fact is that suppose you are living in a place where most of these schools are following the CBSE curriculum, and they are not following the state curriculum, so you may find it difficult to find those state board textbooks, so please get it arranged beforehand only. I was also facing a bit of difficulty with arranging the books. In the end, many of my neighbors as well and some of my teachers as well helped me, and around the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that was the thing that I studied most, because by and large I had completed my NCERT book of 9 and 10, as well as I was revising that as well, and the only part left to cover was this state board textbook part. So I kept on revising these things. Now, why is SST important for NTSE is that in stage 1, since questions can be from either of the books or can be some GK based as well, SST does become the deciding factor, because many students don't like SST, or many students like SST a lot. There's no middle way in between the two. So what happens is students who don't like SST usually get less ranks, although they may be very good students academically, but that less interest in SST can lead to them losing a few marks in this portion. For me personally, out of 40 marks, yes, I had scored a bit low in SST. I had scored 32 marks out of 40, and I was able to cover it up in the other part as well, because I had scored full in mathematics, and I think in science out of 40 I had scored 36, yes. So overall I had scored 88 in the SAT paper of NTSE stage 1. Now this importance of SST is also present in NTSE stage 2, because again the same reason, many students don't like SST as much. so they don't study as much, and even if they are studying, it is much exam oriented. Many students don't keep an open mind about the type of questions being asked. Many times in NTSE stage 2 or stage 1 as well, the questions may not be as direct. Sometimes they may require a bit more use of your general knowledge, and that's where your interest in a subject will play a big role in getting more marks in that particular subject. Now, also one more thing is that SST does not usually have MCQ questions framed beforehand, because this subject SST is divided into 4 subjects separately: history, geography, DP, and also economics. So these 4 subjects have to be prepared separately, and if you total up what you have to study, that makes about 8 books from the NCERT part and 8 books from your state board books part. Now, since you will be preparing for CBSE board exams as well, then you have to prepare those 4 books for 10 board exam, but also if you are giving NTSE those 4 books of 9 as well, so 8 here and 8 there, so that makes around 16 books. So the volume is very huge to cover in SST, and that's why it makes it much difficult in the stage 1, because in stage 2 it's just those 9 and 10 books. And also one more thing is that earlier there was a rule that questions were not being asked from the deleted part, as far as I'm concerned, with regards to the syllabus of 9 and 10. But in our year and even previously, questions have been asked from those deleted portion, like chapters which were deleted from your 9th or 10th CBSE curriculum. Those questions are also being asked, and I had studied those parts luckily. And you also have to surely study everything. Try to study everything given in there, because you need a complete picture of things in social science, because there are a lot of things happening which you have to relate subsequently. So that is the point for your SST preparation. And the final point is, SST usually does not have questions framed by anyone. Like when you are going through your state board books, you will find a lot of points. Like for Assam, there were a lot of facts to memorize. There are which will be asked in the exam, and that will make a difference in your rank. So you have to study those parts carefully and remember it as well. Try to frame questions on your own. This is one exam, and this is one part of this exam where I will say that try to frame questions on your own, because other subjects have a lot of questions. Like there is no limit to the questions in science and mathematics. You can go up to any level, but in SST there aren't many question banks or reference books which have many MCQs. So try to frame questions on your own, and try to keep revising those facts, the years in history and the numbers in geography. And also if you have any question bank for SST, you can solve it. If you don't, please purchase that. Please purchase that, because SST does require a question bank, because usually SST does not have questions framed on its own. And other than that, if you have some reference books which do include MCQs, that is going to help you a lot. So you can get those reference books as well for your preparation. So I'm gonna summarize the video now in around 4 or 5 points. First thing, study your school books properly, be it CBSE or be it state board, and identify what comes in your state's NTSE. If it is more of the state board, focus on that. If it's more of NCERT, focus on the NCERT part. And the third point is, try to practice as many questions as possible from some reference book if you do have. If you feel you don't have a proper source of questions, try to frame questions on your own. And that's what I did for my NTSE SST preparation, the state board books, because you won't find much of MCQ sources for those books, so you need to do it on your own. And the fourth thing is obviously about the question banks. If you do have, please solve those. If you don't, please purchase that. And the fifth point is about the test series, which I didn't mention earlier. The SST part, what usually happens is, in the test series, if you take up any reputed coaching institute, they will give questions based on your NCERT as well, because those coaching institutes are on an all India level, and they won't try to include questions from your state's NTSE. That might be done by some local coaching or the local branch of such a big coaching, if you do go there. And that wasn't the case with me. We weren't given as such specific modules pertaining to our own state, and no big coaching will do that. If you have a local coaching, then they may do that, but don't depend on them. Focus on what you can do. And so prepare those NCERT and state board books part by yourself in SST at least. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel for further videos. I will be posting the next video about mental ability. After that, as I said, I'll be posting some videos about the tips and tricks as well of mathematics. And if you want, we can do some videos about SST tips and tricks as well.